What's up, everybody? Welcome to Aaron Ruins Music. That's right. I've been gone for about a month or so, and I'm back with a new name. The reason for that is because YouTube's search engine just wasn't really friendly for Among the Fence. Among the Fence is a Coheed and Cambria reference, so if you typed it with spaces, that's basically all you got. And if you did any variation of Among the Fence, Among Fence, anything like that, you didn't get it. You had to be very specific and type Among the Fence with no spaces, which hardly anybody ever did. And unless if you did that, my channel wouldn't pop up. So to help my channel get a little bit more searchability, to help my channel be able to be more friendly to YouTube's algorithm even, I decided to change it up. That way it doesn't get buried with a very, very popular band who is still posting stuff. Coheed and Cambria, Among the Fence, they're going to win just about every single time in terms of YouTube's algorithm. So yeah, we're back, new name, still doing reviews. I took some time off for myself. I feel great, and we are ready to talk about some new music. Today, we're checking out The Weight of Sound, which is the 6th studio album by the metalcore band Crystal Lake. I was really hesitant to do this review because honestly, I know I'm kind of in the minority here, but I wasn't really that big of a fan of their previous album, Helix, which came out in 2018. It's really hard to believe that it's already been 8 years since that album came out. I gave it a pretty positive score, and I don't know, it just didn't connect with me. I know a lot of people give it praise. I truly just don't get it. I don't really care that much for some of the silliness found on a lot of their songs. It has like a 2000s nu metal kind of vibe to their song Plus 81. It reminds me a lot of Attila at times, which just doesn't do it for me. However, I did still enjoy the album for the most part. They did have quite a big and sort of controversial lineup change going into this new album. They now have the vocalist from The Last 10 Seconds of Life, and Ryu is now gone. I know a lot of people aren't really a huge fan of that, but at the same time, we have a completely different musician lineup change since 2018 as well. A lot of touring musicians are now main members of the band. There's only one OG musician left that's been around since the band began back in 2002, which, I mean, isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, in 24 years, you would expect most of these musicians to be, it'd be very rare to have more than 2 original musicians from that time, I would say. So that's not really that big of a deal to me. But going from that album into this one, it definitely piqued my curiosity just to see what was going to be different. And I gotta say, a lot of their sound has changed, even down to their production. Some of the moments in this album have more of a wall of sound kind of feel to it, which does become a little old after a while. But at the same time, I feel like they make it work, especially coming off of the last album's production, which didn't, I don't know, it just didn't really have that. And I feel like going into this modern day of metalcore, I guess you could say, it just wouldn't really fit in with everybody else at this point. And the first single that they released for this album, Blue God, I feel like demonstrates all of the aspects that are going to be in this album really well. It has a familiar synth sound that, you know, sounds very much like Crystal Lake, but at the same time, the new vocalist, I mean, he sounds fantastic. To me, I know Ryu is very much loved, but I just really dig the nastiness, the heaviness, the hardcoreness, the deathness that's found within these new vocals. And again, it just kind of shows just how nasty this album is going to be. The feature from Taylor Barber from Left to Suffer, to me, helps that out quite a bit too. He's a fantastic vocalist. I know there's a lot of controversy around him right now. I don't really care. As far as this song goes, I feel like he nailed it. He did really good. And I feel like the band is also more musically creative. They're demonstrating that really well for this first single, just showing again what this album is going to be all about. And it's not to be surprised. Like I said, we have a whole new set of musicians, a whole new set of writing styles coming into play here. So it's to be expected it's going to be a completely different sounding band. But then you have the song Crossing Nails, which sounds almost exactly like an old school Crystal Lake song. It doesn't really have too much originality to it, I guess you could say, in terms of the metalcore aspect of things. I don't really dig it all that much because of its radio friendly, kind of cheesy chorus. The riffs and the verses they're pretty sick, but the lyrics are just okay. They kind of ruin it. There's just a lot of cliche phrases just strung together, which also demonstrates something that's going to be kind of common on this record. And then we have the title track, which was the third single release, The Weight of Sound, which takes more of an atmospheric approach. The lead guitar melody is beautiful. I actually dig the verses with the clean vocals. The pacing to me just makes it feel a little bit more unique, even though, clean vocal, it's just, again, metalcore. It's hard to not fall into the stereotypical tropes that this band could easily fall into. However, they don't really stray away from the core sound of this song either. Like, they don't pull a fast one on you and just have like a atmospheric intro and verse, and all of a sudden it's all heavy and super chaotic. It does build up, don't get me wrong, but as far as the atmosphere, that's kind of like the main focus of this song, which I enjoyed quite a bit. The distorted vocals add a cool kind of dynamic into the chill vibe as well. Sure, like I said, it's not super original, especially the lyrics, but for what they were going for, I feel like it could have been a lot worse. And the last single that they released for this record is Never Sleep. I feel like they brought the heat from this one quite a bit, especially with the hardcore feel. I know it's simple, but dang, I just love that chorus. It's so, the hook is just so hooky. It's so catchy, and it just draws me in every single time. When I was listening to this album, even just like casually just having it on in the background, whenever this song would come on, like my ears would perk up. I'd be like, what's that? That's kind of cool. I don't know. It's, like I said, so simple, so easy, but they found a sucker in me. It matches up perfectly with the rhythm. It features Mike Terry from Volumes, who's a fantastic vocalist. But to be honest, I didn't even really notice because the chorus is just such a distraction for me. I loved the song. It's just a fun, heavy banger and very much a guilty pleasure of mine. But if we look at the opening track, which is the first deep cut, is titled Ever Black, which, I don't know, man. Ever since Lorna Shore, there's bands that said Trends, and everybody just follows it, man. And we got Ever Black, which it makes me think of Lorna Shore more than anything else. But this is one of my favorite Crystal Lake songs, not even just on this album, but overall. It's been a long time since I've listened to this band, so like, don't take me too seriously. But currently, that is my favorite song. And there's a ton of dissonance. They have kind of a death metal vibe to this song. The clean vocals are okay, but the verses to me are what really shine. They would drag me in. It features David Semenik, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, from Signs of the Swarm, and he's everything that I want in this song. He's one of my favorite deathcore vocalists, and it just, he killed it. This is another one of my guilty pleasures. I know it's not going to be a lot of people's favorites. I know David doesn't really do a whole lot for a lot of people, but for me, he does, and I was so excited to see him on here, and he did not let me down. And some of the other deep cuts are kind of hit or miss. For instance, we have The King Down. This has kind of a tough guy persona to it that I didn't really care that much about on Helix. The chorus isn't really as catchy as it tries to be, which is pretty silly for me to say, especially the other songs on here that I like, especially though since they repeat it 5 times. And that's all I'm going to say about that song. Then we have the song Undertow. I feel like they kind of fit Kyle Schubach's, who is the vocalist for Misery Signals. I feel like he like influenced the sound of this song because it has that post melodic hardcore kind of element to it. I dig it. I love it. And to me, I feel like it made it a pretty good midpoint to this record. Carl, of course, he fits the sound very well. It's cool that we have another piece of music from him, because since Misery Signals broke up, this is it. This is the last piece we're probably going to get. And then we have Dystopia, which again kind of fell flat for me. I feel like the features are influencing their sound just a little bit too much, especially since this features Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage, and it's just a little too metalcore sounding for me. Overall, Jesse Leach features, he kind of does what he does anyway, so he brings that Killswitch Engage kind of vibe to it, but the music fit it just a little bit more than I cared for, especially with the clean vocals and the chorus. the bouncy riff, I just wasn't really feeling it. It's not a bad song per se, but I feel like it's skippable just because it's something that I feel just so familiar with anyways. And then we have the song Sinner, which brings out even more of their melodic side, which I enjoyed quite a bit. It's pretty heavy though, with different sections kind of keeping you guessing on where they're going to go next. I don't particularly care for the chorus once again. I do appreciate that they tried something different, especially with the synth. I know it might be favorites of other people's just because it is so different and it doesn't really sound like anything else on this album, but it just didn't really hit all that well for me. The vocals and overall layering are just, I don't know, it sounds cool. Maybe it'll grow on me with more listens, but it just wasn't really there. It's more of an old school Crystal Lake sounding deep cut once again. It did put a smile on my face every time it came around, but it wasn't anything that was like super memorable. And that brings us to the last two songs. The first one being Don't Breathe, which is one of the few songs on this album that I actually liked because of the lyrics, and I really enjoyed the way it never really lets up. The drums and rhythm, they just keep going. No matter what the vocals or the lead guitar are doing, they never let up. It makes it kind of hypnotizing. And again, it's kind of like a post-hardcore kind of thing, even though like the breakdown comes in and normally they would switch things up, slow the tempo down and all that. They kind of stick to the main plan. And once again, they don't let up. This was another song that I enjoyed every time it came around. And then we have the closing track, Coma Wave. This is a very, very just stereotypical, tropey, melodramatic, slow closer, complete with piano. It builds up. I just don't really care for it that much. It's too cliche. The last half of this song is cool, I guess, but it's just very predictable. It feels like they're trying to draw out the emotion, but it just really isn't there. I feel like Don't Breathe would have just made a way better closer, or if they just finish it off, with the direction they were already going in. It feels like they just completely changed directions and they're trying to make this really heavy, intense, kind of, lyrically cheesy album just hit home a little bit more and pull out the emotions, and it just, I don't know, it's trying too hard. I know a lot of fans gave up on this band after Rio left, which I totally get it. He's kind of what made Crystal Lake, but this new vocalist, he's just so good. I love him in The Last 10 Seconds of Life, and I love him in this as well. He brings his own thing. It doesn't sound like a Last 10 Seconds of Life, side project thing. It feels like Crystal Lake just with a different vocalist, and I really enjoyed that he brought that kind of quality to it without changing their sound completely. I enjoy his deep, growly vocals with kind of the lighter sound of Crystal Lake. It mixes up really well. Not all these songs hit, but I feel like more do than not. And this isn't really an album I really find myself wanting to go back to listen to in its entirety, but a couple songs here and there. Some of the tracks are worth revisiting. All in all, I feel like this band is moving in a good direction. And as far as the features influencing the sound of the musicians and what they play and the band and all that, I feel like it's just because all the musicians are new and they have touring musicians and all that. Like, I feel like that's just something they're going to have to work out, find their own identity. So when they bring in features, it'll be a feature instead of them kind of trying to sound like whatever the feature is from. But, they still sound good. I don't dislike them for the most part. But yeah, with all that said, I got to give The Way to Sound by Crystal Lake a 6.8 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, letting me know what you thought of The Way to Sound, what you would rate it, what your favorite song is. Also, don't forget to give this video a like and share it and comment. Tell me I suck, you don't like my review, whatever it is. Any type of interaction helps out a lot. And the whole point in this channel is to interact with people who enjoy music just like I do. And I just thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about music. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I know some of you might have forgot I even existed over this past month just because YouTube algorithm isn't feeding you my stuff, which is totally fine. Hopefully it gets to some of my more familiar subscribers and viewers and all that. And I missed you guys. Hopefully you missed me too. And I will talk to you guys next time.